is it time? Is it finally the day? You know, the video's on, my light is on, I'm like half awake, running on like 2 hours of sleep. It might be the time. Oh, it's gotta be. I'm already shaking in anticipation already because it's already been 3 whole figure reviews since I've mentioned it, and it might be time, folks. It might actually be time. Yeah, no, we're talking about this piece of shit first. Yeah, sorry I had to debate you with this piece of shit here, but in order to entice the viewers and also provide a fake thumbnail, I had to bring that boy into frame for at least a second. Say goodbye to this graceful figure, because today we're talking about... So just picture it in your mind. It's December 2021, the new Spider-Man film has come out, and we're all acting naive as if Tobey Maguire wasn't going to make an appearance in the film. But with his appearance brought many questions. This film would of course make a bunch of merchandise because of course it's Spider-Man, you're going to want to capitalize on that. And if Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man were to return, would that mean a new wave of Tobey Maguire figures in current year? Well, we had to wait about like a year or so after the movie came out to actually get one. But here he is, look, wow! A Marvel Legends Tobey Maguire figure in current year. Whoa, look at that. It's like trying to hype up a piece of dog shit. I'm going to approach this figure the way that I approached Tobey's inclusion in the movie to begin with, by stating, I am grateful that we even got this to begin with. Now, granted, this gratitude isn't really expressed audibly by many other figure reviewers, for good reason. A year or so's worth of waiting led up to this. I'd imagine the disappointment. I was on the lucky side. I've seen pictures of just how bad this figure came out for some people, and they had to pay like $100 and then some just to even get it. Now, releasing this figure on its own, pretty ballsy move, but releasing it and locking it behind an exclusive service for this? You gotta be out of your mind. To put it into perspective, we went over a decade without Tobey Maguire Spider-Man merchandise. And while that would make sense considering Tom Holland is effectively the Spider-Man for the live-action movies at least, we've been getting figures of Christian Bale's Batman and Michael Keaton's Batman literally like maybe last year, I don't know. But why do that but not show any love to the Spider-Man that without any doubt did pave the way for most of the Marvel movies, for better or for worse? I will never understand. Goddamn, what a fall from grace this figure is. If it were even in grace to begin with. Because this guy is supposed to be this guy. These two are supposed to be the same person. Now, granted, I can at least understand that, you know, years have passed and Tobey Maguire isn't going to look the same way that he looked 20 years ago. To expect that of him and his merchandise would be an exercise in futility. But not only has he degraded visually, he's degraded physically. Yeah, 20 years will do that to you. What I mean is somehow, despite all the advancements that we've made in making figures and just making stuff in general, this figure is worse than this one. And this one came out in 2004. How is that even possible? Now, granted, this figure has 46 points of articulation. So allow me to level the playing field a little bit. Look at that. There's not even a competition. If you asked me which figure came out sooner, I'd probably say this one. That's how bad this figure is. You wanna know the real reason why this figure's been catching strays in my videos? Because it's cheap, overpriced trash! Now again, I submit I am grateful we even got this to begin with, even if it took a year or so of waiting. But come on, don't we owe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man a little more respect than this? I mean, for God's sake, he's painted like his Lego minifigure. Where's the raspberry red, the navy blue, kinda bordering on black sometimes? Where's the crisp gunmetal gray webbing? The textured blue parts, which aren't even accurate to the actual suit, but they still did it, and it does look good. None of that is present here, at all. For God's sake, this figure looks like a 3D print you can get on CG Trader. I'm not even going to begin to get into his accessories or his posability or whatever, because this isn't really a review video, it's more so a rant video. Because I'm a man-child who needs to express his emotions. But seriously, man, this is just sad. For God's sake, this figure is 20. It's probably 20 years right now. And I will admit, it's not perfect. I mean, out of the box, this thing's flimsy as shit. This shit's as stable as my fucking sleep schedule. This thing's flimsier than my belly rolls. The Titanic probably had a more stable build than this figure when it was sinking. And yet this figure still runs laps around this piece of shit. I could be offered this figure sanded down of its paint, bare, and still think that it's more fixable than whatever the hell they got going on here. Not to mention, if you don't have this figure, you can use this one. It's still better. I'll even go as far as to say, as the 2002 Spider-Man 1 superposable Spider-Man is a bigger figure than this. And this figure is definitely over 20 years now. You bring great shame to your ancestors. You know, I used to be a Marvel Legends shill. The Pizza Spidey, the Ultimate Spider-Man, both Peter and Miles, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure, which wasn't even accurate. I ate all of it up. And I'm also just ashamed to admit that when this figure first got into my hands, I felt the same way about it too. But that was before I had options. These options. And frankly, I'm one of the lucky ones. At least I'm actually able to afford these figures. Yeah, what a flex. I'm able to own pieces of plastic. I'm just very disappointed that this figure is the only available figure we have of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man that's affordable. And this is just all we get. Now again, I'll pay the devil his dues. At least they included the full handset for this figure. When I say full handset, I mean a pair of open hands, a pair of fists, and then a pair of web shooting hands. But even then, including them with this figure is doing the bare minimum. Something that I can't even say they're doing for other figures. I feel like what makes this figure so jarring to look at is not only the saturated colors, but the fact that the webbing is so bright, if the light doesn't hit it, it's practically white. And while one of the things that makes the Raimi suit different than the more traditional Spider-Man suit is this different colored webbing, from a distance you could still see the webbing is there and it's not too distracting, as opposed to this figure where the webbing sticks out like a sore thumb. You see this? This is a worthy evolution. The only unfortunate thing is you kind of have to drop a band just for this figure. But at least this figure is worth its price and then some. This figure had the capacity to be what this figure was at an affordable price. In fact, it could be. Considering the work that's been done by Crafty Gecko and Can I Make It and possibly many other people who have customized this figure can actually be redeemed. In fact, there's a person selling 3D sculpts of the original Raimi Spider-Man mask, and putting that on this figure does improve its look. But even with all those modifications in mind, they're not what we got. This is what we got, and it's just so disappointing. This figure existing does technically count as history because, well, against all odds, Tobey Maguire was able to reprise his beloved role and swing onto our screens one last time. But for this to be the culmination of that historical moment, it's really tragic. Considering Hasbro has the Marvel license and is basically in charge of all merchandising, including figures, this was their chance to give us something extraordinary, larger than life, something worth having. And yet, they fell short. With the release of the Spider-Man No Way Home wave, including figures such as Sandman, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, and the Three Peters, Tom getting his new final swingsuit, and Andrew and Tobey getting their unmasked heads, I feel like that could have been their chance to redeem this figure as well. But all they really did was re-release it with new head sculpts. And don't get me started on the likenesses on those. I'm sure this isn't the last bad Spider-Man figure to come out. And the fact that we even got this figure to begin with, and possibly a Mayfex friendly neighborhood Spider-Man on the horizon, I don't think we're out of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man figures quite yet. But considering that this figure was something I was looking forward to, and something that I was even speculating the release of ever since No Way Home was in its trailer state, getting this after that long of a wait is just sorely disappointing. But thankfully, that isn't my only Tobey Spider-Man figure. And if there's one thing I can give to this figure, the pure disappointment I got from this figure meant me getting these figures out of spite. Except this one. I had this one way before this one. Yeah, would you look at that? I have a pretty decent collection under my belt. Yes, him included. But yeah, that's my little rant on the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man figure from the Marvel Legends Spider-Man No Way Home 3-pack. Maybe one of these days, if I actually have the energy, I'll review the 3-pack in proper. But for now, this is all you get. Smooth that out of the way. That's perfect. Okay, well, that's the rant over. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and maybe next time I make a video, it'll actually be on this figure. But until then, take care.